That's a wrap. The Kansas City Chiefs have done it again. Trent McDuffie has been traded to the Rams, and they have question marks now. We're going to answer them today.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome in, Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for making us your first listen here on Locked On Chiefs, your daily Locked On podcast for the Kansas City Chiefs, part of the #1 sports podcast network in America. We couldn't do it without you, and we thank you guys for being here every single day. You get something for doing that, and that's called the Everydayers Club. If you go get signed up for that, you get ad-free audio, you get access to our Discord, and we give you the best of the best. It's at lockedonchiefs.supercast.com. Check that out. We have a ton to go over about this fallout. We just talked to you yesterday about Trent McDuffie.
Yeah, I was just going to say, use promo code free agency. You get a discount on the Everyday Club.
Thank you. Trent McDuffie, we told you about the possibilities here. We're going to talk about, what it was, the mechanics of it. And even though they didn't get the pick that I told you they should, they got more than it appears to be just by the numbers on this draft. Then what are the repercussions? What do the Chiefs have on this roster at the cornerback position? What do they have to work with and that they have to plan around? And then what are the draft options for this team at this position? How might it change what the draft philosophy is here, despite what Brett Veach has already told us this combine season? There's a lot to go over there. You can find more about it at all of our extra sites, all of our extra content. You can find Chris at KC Chiefs Corner. You can find me at NFL33.com, RGR Football, and RogueAPC.com, because now you want to go see who the best athletes are at the cornerback position, and I got you covered. We have been doing this together 9+ years, almost 10 at this point, and this is going to be a more exciting draft than maybe we've had the last couple of seasons, because now there's more at stake, and it starts and ends with the fact that Trent McDuffie was an all-pro, could play inside, could play outside, and I said on my really emotional side on RGR just yesterday that I didn't want him to do it. I wanted him to stick around because I believe in raising and investing the guys that you develop. And you could say Trent McDuffie was going to be a Pro Bowler anyway, but you made him that much better. So this really comes down to one thing for me, and I'm, as much as I recognize value, I would have preferred they'd been able to lower the salary or whatever and get him on this roster. It wasn't able to be done. I wish that it had, but how do you feel about why this happened and the details of what we found out after the fact about a coming extension for him?
There's no way that the Chiefs were ever making this deal, period. Look at their roster, look at what they do and how they value players. He is a fantastic corner. He's probably a top 5 corner, especially if you're talking slot. Don't know that I would say that he's probably top 5 if you include all corner positions. I think he is very good, but he's going to be demanding over $30 million a year, and the Chiefs can't afford to pay that. That's what this comes down to. If the Rams want to pay that, congratulations to them. Good luck with that. Not saying that it won't work out for him. It may work out for him, but Kansas City didn't have the money to do this. They weren't going to pay him, and I am sure that I will be having a little bit more to say about this on the squad. I know how they feel about this trade, and when I look at that, it's going to be it's going to be a situation where it's going to be a conversation of what can't he do. He has been exposed in certain ways. He doesn't have the length to be a number one. Or he has the length to be a number one, but it's not top tier best corner in the NFL. Yes, he's made all pros. Congratulations on that. Patrick Mahomes has been an all pro. He gets paid number 15, around 15th in the NFL in AAV at the position at QB. Trent McDuffie's looking for number 1. I don't blame him. Congratulations for getting paid. No problem there, but you can't pay him number 1 money. Sorry.
You're paying Creed number 1 money. You're paying Trent, Trey. You're paying him 4. I think it's 4. You're paying George Karlaftis 9. Like, you have too many top 10 players, and Patrick Mahomes isn't even one of them. You have a great point there. It makes it difficult. And what we have seen from reports is that it is pushing to be the number 1 cornerback contract, period, over Sauce Gardner. So the fact that that's what you were staring at made this a foregone conclusion. Now, we shouldn't forget to mention that to go with this, as I told you 2 days ago, The Chiefs were still trying to shop Jawaan Taylor. They were trying to pull off another trade, found no interest. So they did actually release him today. So he is officially coming off of the cap as well, which does help with the space. But this was the wheel and deal portion right here, right? The week after the combine. Now, what they got in compensation is probably the bigger conversation here.
Yeah, it is. And really quick, George Karlaftis is 14th in the NFL, so I don't feel as bad about that contract. Just throwing that out there. Nick Bolton is one of those other higher paid guys. But I also said this on X. The reality is you could pay your entire draft class and some free agents, several free agents, if not multiple, like maybe 5, with the money that you'd be paying Trent McDuffie. There's a reason they're doing this.
Yeah, and that's got to be. I thought I looked it up yesterday and Karlaftis was 9. Am I wrong, or is that just the guaranteed portion?
It might be the guaranteed portion, but when you're looking at total value, he is around 15th.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so that's the discrepancy. But that's exactly what you're talking about, is that the ability to do more with less is really what it comes down to. And I think there's a couple of things that Brett Veach, when faced with this concept that you weren't going to get away from this trade, that you had to do this, what you got in return is what makes the most sense here. You did get a first round pick, number 29. I did say 2 days ago that it should have been 13 if you're going to get value for what he's worth. But that was assuming, and I put in that scenario, that it would be 13 and a 5th or 13 and a swap of something later in the draft. In the end, the Chiefs get 29, still a first round pick, obviously. They also get a 5th round pick, a 6th round pick, and most importantly, they get a top 100 in next year's draft, which by all accounts right now is to be much, much better and much deeper than this particular draft is going to be. So in the end, he pulled off value that came out around 20, which was a spot higher than Trent was drafted. So looking at it as a whole and being able to get a couple of different players, as you said, I think value here worked out. And I don't think that this was a bad trade for the Chiefs in terms of the value they got back for Trent McDuffie.
I think this is a trade they had to make. Maybe they could have gotten more. Maybe they could have gotten something from Dallas if they waited a little bit longer. But you get this deal done before free agency. It frees up your salary cap for free agency. The other reality of this is that you still haven't done any of your EFRAs. You haven't done any of your restricted free agents. You haven't done anything with Travis Kelce. You haven't tried to sign any of your own guys. All of that plays into why they had to make this move. I don't think they're done either. That's another thing when we're sitting here looking at this. There are reports, which I want to be clear. I don't necessarily believe that they're going to be doing the Chris Jones deal that somebody has reported. I will wait and see somebody with a little bit more clout when it comes to the chief organization say that. But if they do make that move, I'll also be very clear on this. If they make a move with Chris Jones's contract to free up $20 million, they're going to be major players in free agency. And it is a complete shift as to how they've built this team in the past. If they don't, that's different. But if they make a move with Chris Jones's contract, that says something because it really is going to hurt them in the future.
Yeah, that would be a significant shift. We'll talk about the cap space and what's left on the roster in just a minute because there is a giant hole they have to fill at corner right now.
Hey, it's Matt Derry from the Locked On Lions podcast. The people I love depend on me. If I'm gone, the financial responsibilities don't disappear. I didn't want my family figuring things out during the hardest moment of their lives. That's why I knew only one place to go. I chose life insurance through my friends at Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. I love the folks at Ethos. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get the free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Application times and rates may vary.
So there are gaps that you want to make and you want to take care of. That is part of this process, and we want to take care of you. So make sure if you would like to get in conversations with us and Locked On fans in an exclusive area of Discord, you can do that. You can also get ad-free audio by joining us over at our Everydayer Club at lockedonchiefs.supercast.com and use that code free agency right now with no spaces through the 15th to get a nice discount. I think you guys will enjoy that. What I enjoy is the fact that we now get to talk about team building. The reason that I do this is about team building. And this gives you opportunities with an extra fifth, an extra sixth in this draft. They now have freedom to move around the country, so to speak. Will they stay at 29? Will they not? We don't know. But with the I don't see the sites having been updated after Jawaan Taylor, but it has hit the transaction wire today. It is official. So as of right now, they should have $25.7 million in cap space. If Drew Tranquill is cut, which we do anticipate, that would take it up to 31.7. And I think, as you said, that's started to become where they can do some things, whether it's some of their free agents or some of someone else's. I think the first order of business, because of this trade, has to be Jaylen Watson. Am I wrong?
I don't know that you're wrong. I'm going to be curious to see if they get it done. His value is something that I don't think a lot of people really have a great feel for. I'm curious. I know Spotrac has a number that they have out there, whether or not that ends up being the case, and they can get that done with his, $14 million, $15 million a year. I will be curious to see if that ends up happening. But the reality is that you are in a situation where you have to figure out what you're going to do at the corner position. You're not going to have Trent McDuffie now. You have Noah Williams, who played well when you played him, but he is going to be a second-year guy. So what does that change? How do things look a little bit different going into this season? I would love to see them get a deal done with Jaylen Watson, but again, you're not going to pay Trent McDuffie $30 million. Are you willing to pay Jaylen Watson 15? Are you willing to pay him 20? I don't know what his market's going to be. I know Spotrac has a number out there, but can that get it done?
That number is 12. He is currently listed as the second
I do it for that.
Free. You would do it for that? I'd like to be under that, but I could stomach it if I had to.
Well, when you look at the corner market, I'm sorry. That's my only point. When you look at the corner market, 12, I would do 12 for Jaylen Watson. Would you feel better if it was lower? Yeah, absolutely. But look at what the top corners are getting, and he is probably going to be one of the top corners on the open market. That's why I would say I would do it for 12.
Yeah, and that's fair. I looked up their list. He is number 2 on it in expected market value, just behind Nashawn Wright from Chicago, who happened to be exactly the same age. And 12, if they're right, then it would be stomachable. I think that makes a lot of sense, especially basically because you're replacing that salary with what Trent would have been making anyway. But here's the thing. Jaylen Watson is an outside corner. Christian Fulton is an outside corner. Noah Williams is an outside corner. And Shamari Connor is not a nickelback.
No,
so there is still a giant hole in the cornerback room at this position, and it is at nickel. There are a bunch of them in the draft, though. And we'll talk about who they are coming up. But my question to you is, do you think that they're rolling the dice that one of those guys can move inside? Or do you think we're staring at them thinking that they can still run Shamari Connor in the nickel? Or do you think that there's another option like CRW or somebody else that's on the roster already?
I don't know that there is another option on the roster. I would love to say that they think that it's going to be CRW, but they haven't proven that they're going to be willing to do that consistently. It's been Shamari Connor when they've run somebody else in there. The question then when it comes to McDuffie, and I know we're kind of shifting what we're talking about, but the question when it comes to McDuffie, and this is going to be what we'll need to find out, and maybe we never will, did he want to play inside? Because I still don't know that you could value him to play him inside at $30 million. Like that's the big question. He is fantastic as an inside corner. Yeah, he can do both. But how do you fill out the roster paying him $30 million? So it's going to be interesting when his number comes out. And if it's over the 30.1, don't forget the salary cap went up. So there should be a shift in what top money is going to be. So it should be much higher than 30.1 based on that thought process. So we'll see what ends up happening there. I don't know if they have somebody on the roster that can replace what McDuffie can do. I don't know. At this point, I still wonder whether or not Christian Fulton will be on the roster. I understand the thought process of keeping him now that you've traded away Trent McDuffie. It makes a lot more sense value-wise, especially if you think he can play in this system. But the question is he didn't play very much last year, so do they feel like he can this year? When it comes to Watson, I don't think that they think he can move inside. I think that they would expect that he's going to be an outside guy. And to me, I would try to be rolling with Watson and Noah Williams as your 1-2 and find a guy that can play dynamically and give you a nickel corner in the draft, because I think you could find that in a later round than the first round. And opening up, this opens up what the Chiefs can do at 9 at this point. Like I didn't think with McDuffie that they could really afford to take a corner. Now maybe you have to reach for a corner a little bit at 9. I don't feel as bad about it because at this point you just traded away Trent McDuffie. Yeah, okay, it's not going to be great, but again, we've talked about the value in this draft. It's just not there at the top end unless you're going to trade up and try to go get one of those blue chip prospects, which I don't think they want to do either. I don't know what you do other than maybe try to fill your specific need at a position that absolutely guarantees you value if you can find somebody that can come in and start and be a guy that's going to play well for you for 5 years.
Agreed. And we're going to talk about the draft scenarios and the options there in just a couple of minutes. Before that, though, Amik Robertson, D. Alford, Greg Newsome might be able to go inside. He's going to have a decent market. I'm just looking at free agent types that could be out there. Nothing's coming to mind for me that says that they can pick up a nickel in free agency. Do you have anyone that you think they could do that with?
I wouldn't think so. And I also don't think the other issue that you run into here is, again, not signing any of your own guys, not signing any of your exclusive rights, any of your restricteds. Travis Kelce is, just came out earlier this afternoon, right before we started recording this. Travis Kelce, it's looking like he's going to be back. So it's a question of how much is you going to need for Kelce. All that plays into this. I don't think they have the cap space is really where I'm going with that conversation. I don't think they have the cap space to go out and sign another corner at this point, because corner is one of those positions. It's a premium position and very few are going to hit the open market.
That makes it tough. So that means you're going to have to bring someone in through the draft. There are options, and a lot of them. This actually falls exactly into where Brett Veach wants to be. I'm going to tell you his name next.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. March is the time to celebrate women, especially around International Women's Day, and to recognize just how much they carry at work, in relationships and families, and in all the unforeseen roles they step into every single day. It's easy to celebrate that strength, but it's just as important to make space for their emotional well-being, and honestly, that goes for all of us. I think about my mom and how much she carries without always saying so, and it makes me think how many of us are doing the same thing. The roles we play, the expectations we carry, the pressure we don't always talk about. Therapy can help with all of that. Creating balance, setting healthy boundaries, and supporting your overall well-being. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 6 million people served worldwide, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, and it works. Fill out a short questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and if it's not the right fit, switch at any time. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/lockedon.
Now, there are a lot of options. You guys can check us out on any of our other outlets at KC Chiefs Corner, at NFL 33, at RGR Football. Those are all .coms. Check those out. What this does in getting 29 gives you what I think is a safety net and a plan. And as soon as I started to get over the disappointment of not having Trent McDuffie on this roster, who was a guy that I wanted here and maybe my most successful draft wishing to be when they selected him, I had to turn the page to, okay, well, what are they going to do then? Because there's two things. By having 29 in place, you have to feel like you can get one of the second-tier edge rushers. It's most likely you're not going to get Bailey or Bay. That's just the way it's looking like it's going to fall. And so spending 9 on a reach for Messidor or TJ Parker or Zion Young was looking like a pretty bad reach 10 plus picks on my board at least. So now at 29, you stay in the round. You feel like you can probably get an edge rusher with that pick and do pretty well. So what does that do for 9? 9 is now unlocked. You don't have to take a position that is of lesser value in running back or linebacker. I still think trade back is the best option, but I will tell you, the guy that fits what Spags wants to do, what's that?
I said you're probably not going to give value if you trade back.
Probably not. And I don't know if there's going to be even people interested, to be honest, given the way that this is falling. So not being locked into one of those lower value positions makes me happy.
Yeah, and the team that you wanted to trade back that we've talked about trading back with is the Rams, who basically don't have anything left to really trade up to get at this point. I mean, yeah, they could give a 3rd-round pick maybe to trade up 4 spots. I would consider that. I don't know. I'd have to go look at the value boards. I'm just throwing that out there, but they're not going to give up a second to move up 4 spots. So,
no. And that's maybe, okay. If they find it and they say F it yet again, why not? Okay.
Right.
But I agree. I don't expect that to be the case. So it lets the Chiefs have a little bit of maneuverability, and you're not locked into taking a running back or a linebacker that's there. If you can move back 3 spots, 4 spots, that's great. If you can move back 7 and you still might get this guy, that might be good. But the guy that fits the Spagnuolo scheme, and until a year ago was the best corner in this class before he got hurt. He's coming off of an ACL. He didn't run at the combine. Very disappointing for me. A guy that's 13 months removed from an ACL and he couldn't run in a straight line for me. That bothered me. But Gerard McCoy is on film the best corner in this class, and he will be available at 9. There's virtually no one that is thinking he goes at 8 or higher. So for the Chiefs, they could get the best player at a position that is now, quote unquote, a possible need in what's a down class and still come out with the things that they need.
Possibly. I don't know how I feel about that, considering everything that you just said about the injury history, though. I mean, here's the thing. It's funny to say that because quite literally, what did the Chiefs do last year with Josh Simmons? The difference, though, is you're talking about doing it at 9 versus doing it at the back of the first round, where you know you're not going to get a guy you have a first-round grade on, generally speaking, because of where you're picking. So quite literally, I mean, you're in a situation for, if you're the Chiefs, you're picking at 29, which you're normally used to picking at. So you quite frankly should have a pretty good feel for what you're going to be able to do at 29. Like, that should be normal for you. But looking at picking at 9, do you really want to risk it on somebody that I mean, it's possible they're going to know way more about the medical stuff than we're going to know. We just know that there are some severe questions at this point. Maybe he comes out and does something at his pro day and shows something at his pro day, or has an individual workout that is in, or, you know, a top 30 visit or something, makes you feel better about it. There's also a possibility, you know, that we're just not going to get the information. The Chiefs will have that information. And I will say, generally speaking, when it comes to injury stuff, I will trust them when it comes to if they're making a choice based on an injury history. I'm not going to be as comfortable with it at 9 as I was last year in the late 20s. At 32. Sorry, I couldn't remember exactly what the pick was, but yeah, it was late. So it's a much different situation at 9 than it was at 32. So that's the big question. And, you know, the other thing, there's going to be arguments that people will say, well, okay, well, you just took a first round pick 2 years ago in Worthy, who now you have people questioning whether or not he's going to be able to stay healthy in his NFL career. I think it's a little early to have that question, but there's going to be arguments about it.
There will. You're absolutely right. And I think they're legitimate arguments. I will say this, though, that the Chiefs have proven, especially with Simmons, that if they feel their doctors are comfortable, they are not scared to do it. And I feel like the status of the class and knowing that last week they were staring at maybe having to go running back or linebacker, they might feel a little bit more risk at one of the 4 top positions might be enough value. And the reason that I say all this is because I've been very frustrated with McCoy in particular. But on tape, he's the best guy out there. He's long. He's a press man corner. He fits Steve Spagnuolo's scheme. This is all good things. And I can't help but put those dots together Maybe that's not what they're thinking. Maybe they even have Mansour Delane higher than him on the board. I don't know. But I just see that this is now an opportunity for them to have a safety net to take a chance on a guy that is almost a perfect scheme fit, that has the athleticism, or at least we expect him to. We'll see how he actually tests, to be able to be the prototype length that Trent McDuffie wasn't, but have his athleticism.
So let me throw a wrench in your thought process here and say, what happens if the Chiefs find a way to trade back to 16, but not necessarily get the full value to 16, and still take the corner that you're talking about because other people are still scared of his injury risk? To me, even better. But to me, I don't care if you get full value if you're still getting the guy that you could have probably taken at 9, and it's at a position that you absolutely need to get help at. He's prototypical of what you want as at that position. Corner is one of the top premium positions in the NFL. There's still extreme value there if you can fill that position, regardless if it's at 9 or at 16. It's a win-win if you are able to get anything of value, like a 3rd or 4th round pick, even to move back 6 spots, because again, this draft just doesn't have the top end blue chip prospects that you want to be taking in the top 10. And the ones that are more than likely going to be gone by 6 or 7 at the most.
Yeah.
I don't think the Chiefs are going to be trading up. They could.
I completely agree. And if the injury thing is what gets you reduced value, if you're talking about trading back to 16 or 15 with the Bucks, which I think is an interesting spot that could actually
I just threw a number out.
Fair enough. But if you're getting a 3rd round pick, another top 100 pick, I'm all for that, for dropping down just a few spots, because 6'1", 31 plus arms, 188 pounds, 9-inch hands, and the guy attacks receivers. He doesn't let them run routes against him. Now, I know that he hasn't done any of the testing, and I am frustrated by that myself, but he is a dude that could walk into this defense schematically and be a fit on day one.
And here's my question to you. What was the reason that the Chiefs, what was Trent McDuffie's weakness?
It was his arm length.
Yeah. And his height. I mean, his arm length. I mean, it's all that. It's length in general. When he goes up against bigger receivers, he is going to be in a bad position because he doesn't have the length. And that is going to be a problem for him. And we'll see whether or not he's able to find a way to get past it. But that's been his problem. Like, I'm not saying he's not a good corner. He is a very good corner. I'm just not going to be willing to pay him $30 million a year because of the issue that he can't overcome, the arm length. And as soon as he starts losing a step, which is still several years away, hopefully, that's going to be even bigger of an issue.
I agree. And it's tough to see Trent McDuffie go, but I will say this. We might get another very close look at him in the next Super Bowl. That is a distinct possibility.
Which is also in Los Angeles. Just throwing that out there.
You know, kudos for him. And we didn't even really talk about this, but kudos to him for getting what he wanted. He's talked before about wanting to play at home in front of his family, et cetera. And he even called out the Rams as the one other team he'd like to play for. So Brett Veach made it happen. Everybody's a winner on this. I think it's a great deal. What do you think? Put your comments below here on YouTube. We would like to hear them. We're going to have more on this, as well as the ramifications as we move forward. We're going to be looking at the cap pretty steadily here as we see some of the adjustments come through. So make sure that you join us. Make sure you hit that Everydayers Club with the code FREEAGENCY at LockedOnChiefs.supercast.com. We'll have another one for you today. Have a great night. We'll catch you next time.